Hi, everyone, and welcome to a Software Success. I'm Ashley Jones, and I will be talking all things software to you for the next 90, no, not 90, 60 minutes. I'm used to saying 90. So thank you all for being here. If you are new to Software Success, this is where we learn all about our dime embroidery software modules. You can do so many different things in your software, and it's not going to be something that you're going to learn overnight. So joining me in these Software Success will give you a few more skills each time you watch so that you can just grow your knowledge about the software and then be able to do pretty much anything that you want to with your embroidery designs, whether it's editing them or creating them, or maybe just putting a lot of things together to create a completely different design. But we want you to know your software very well so that you can use it whenever you need to. So you bought it, you own it, you really should be able to use it to its fullest. And that is our goal here at Software Success. So I always love seeing everyone join me today. And so I see that we have lots of people popping in. So we'll say hi to a few people here today. Tell me where you're watching from. Say hi. If you're new to Software Success, I'd love to see that too. There's lots of names that I already recognize. So I know we've got lots of viewers that are frequent here, which I always love. So, hey, Harriet Ann Palmer, thanks for joining us. She's my neighbor to the north there in Homestead, Florida. So my friend Bet, thanks for being here as well. Always good to see Bet from Phoenix. Pamela M, thanks for being here. So from Michigan, first day of April. I know I was trying to think of a really fun April Fool's, but I never thought of one. So everything I tell you today is not April Fool's because I didn't think of a good April Fool's joke. So Laura, always good to see you from Lincoln, Nebraska. So glad to have you with us today. So Francie, thanks for being here. It's getting ready for some stitch secrets. So that's right. We like to figure out everything we can do in our software, right? So Marianne, thanks for being here. She said, I love secrets. I do too, especially when I'm the one that gets to hear the secret, right? Ingrid, thanks for joining. So good to see you from Belgium. So, and our friend Dawn from Creative Applique, always glad to have you here with us as well. And I know Dawn uses our software regularly. Our friend Joanne Banco from Let's Go Sew. And LeBoo Sewing Center, my friends at LeBoo, that's SNL or maybe Tucker out there. Thanks for joining us. Always good to see you. So Reen Wilcoxon, you guys know her from Embroidery Garden. She says it's freezing in Indiana. So Reen, come to Florida to see Harriet Ann and I. So you'll get warmed up quickly. So, and Judy, thanks for being here, Judy. So, okay, I think we have the majority of people here that's probably going to be joining us today. So let's talk about our topic. So let's get started with stitch secrets behind the scenes. So here's my idea for today's presentation. So you guys know I use my software for literally everything. I use it for even non-embroidery type things. So for designing, for planning, for layout, it's really your all-around program that can do everything you need for embroidery, for quilting, and for crafting. And like I said, I even use it for design purposes as well. So last week on our Between Friends episode with Eileen, she releases every week a on the house design, which you can download for free from our site. And the design was a project last week because it was the end of the month. So she created this cute little trivet, and she had used the center medallion as a design that was released a few weeks before. That was a coaster. So she created this gorgeous project from another design, and I thought it was just brilliant. So many times we're looking for the right design, and we may have it, and we just need to add a few more elements. And that's exactly what she did. It's something so simplistic, but I think it's going to teach you guys a ton today. So this is the behind the scenes of how she created this finished trivet project. So we're going to be repurposing a design. I'm going to talk about, editing and modifying your stitches, and then we're going to create the quilting also that separates the outside pieces there. So, and as you guys know, I always tell you which software modules these features come from. So I'll make sure to do that after we've seen those in action. Now, if you do not have this design, you can download it or you can follow along today and create it. So that's entirely up to you. But it's this cute little trivet. And I love how she matched the design to her dishes, because that to me is something else. That's the reason why we embroider, right? We like to customize things for whatever reason. And so let me show you where to get that design on our website really quickly. So if you do want to participate, I'll show you where both of these come from. And so you can download them. And then as always, you can rewatch this presentation. So to follow along, if you want to later, you certainly can do that. So on our website, Designs and Machine Embroidery, and we now have a new logo. You guys know that we're part of OESD, so we're Dime by OESD. So it's so nice to see all those updates happening. But underneath the designs and projects here, there's a category for free designs. And if you click there, here is the trivet file and instructions for stitching that out. So if you want to download that, it'll give you instructions for stitching out what we're going to create today. And you can also use the design as a way to see exactly what it does. I do that all the time. And then the coaster set that's from the month before is also still there. And it's this coaster here in the front left. That's the design that we're going to be using. So to create the trivet design. So download those coaster designs too, and download any of them. All of these files are free to you. You certainly can download them and use them in your software to make something completely new. Okay, so let's head over to our software and let's get started with this. So let me tell you about owning a design file. So this is something I use my software for regularly. When you are learning to create files, if you have a file from your favorite digitizer or like downloading our projects and designs from our site, in your software, the slow redraw feature is something that I use regularly. This will allow you to see the design stitch out on the screen without you having to waste any thread or any stabilizer or an item to stitch it on. This tells me exactly how it was planned, how it was creating. And so when I'm learning to create something, I love to look at well-digitized designs and watch them stitch out, because it helps me learn the best way to create designs as well, as far as, different things like underlay and stuff like that go. So it's a great way to learn. So this is the design. It's already created, but I'm going to walk you through the process because I think there's lots of good learning in this one design. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to my blank screen here. And I'm going to grab my coaster design. So the coaster design, remember that was a separate file. And this is what it looks like here. Now I have actually added the fabric in the background. So let me open up the other one. So I'm going to double click this one. So I added the fabric because we can audition fabric in the in our software as well. But I just want to show you the one that you get for your download. Okay, so here's our file. This is the center medallion. This itself is a coaster, and you can see that it has the opening here left for turning this inside out. But we're not going to be doing that. With the trivet, the instructions have you do an envelope back, so you don't have to leave an opening. Okay, so we're going to use this for the center of our design, and I am going to remove this outer run stitch here. I'm just going to click it, and then if it's not already ungrouped, so make sure you click your ungroup key, and then I'm just going to press the delete on my keyboard, or delete is also under right mouse click. Okay, and so there was a placement and a tack down, so I'm going to delete both of those, and then the stitch that is the stitch that closes it and leaves the opening, I'm also going to remove that as well. Okay, so now I am left with just this design that's going to wind up being the center of my file. So I'm going to select everything and I'm going to just group it together just so that I don't accidentally move any of the parts and pieces. Okay, so select and group. Part of it was already ungrouped, so whenever I clicked that, it ungrouped everything. So okay, so now this is my center part of my design. Now I'm going to show you a trick in your software that I don't think I have ever shown on camera. Okay, so this is something that was added a long time ago and I rarely use it, but today today I actually did. So you can actually split your workspace here when you are working on something. If you're trying to duplicate or you're looking at another file or you're looking at two files, if you click on your tab here down at the bottom, any of these tabs, and you click and hold, and then you drag that tab up, do you see how my screen changed to half blue? If I move my cursor over to the left toolbar or ruler bar, you can see how the left-hand side is blue. And when I release this, it will split my screen. So now if I'm working on two designs, and I'm actually going to close this one here so that we don't have too many things open. So sometimes when I'm working on two different things, I will split my screen like this so that I can see each one. And I'm doing this just so you can see both of these side by side and I don't have to copy and paste. Okay. So my tools work whichever screen I've clicked on. Okay. And you can see my colors change down here below. If I click on the trivet, I have the color orange. So I know that this is the one that's selected. And so I'm going to double click my zoom tool to bring that in the center. And now I'm going to click over here on the left-hand side and you can see that it's the yellow. And so I know I have this one selected. So I'm going to double click here. So whichever side you have selected, that's what your tools are going to work on. Okay. So it's can get confusing, but it's sometimes really helpful to be able to see things side by side. But I just wanted you to see a side by side comparison here because this is what we're going to be creating. Okay, so with this design, this is an in the hoop trivet. So it's got a placement stitch, and then it's going to stitch the design all together. And then you're going to use a stitch at the very end that stitches all the way around to put the back fabric on. Okay, so we've got our center part ready to go, right? So we really are building this outside circle, and then we're going to be creating these little flower elements that Eileen has used to kind of fill these arced areas. And I also need to create this shape. So I have a really cool way to create that. Okay, now if somebody's asking, okay, my screen accidentally did that once and I didn't know how to undo it. Well, you can close out this tab. So if I close this tab out, it will go away, but I'm not going to close it out because we're going to be using it. But the proper way to do this is to do the same thing we did before and put it back in this category here. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag my tab. Okay, so you see my cursor down here in the bottom left. I'm going to click on the name of my file here, hold down my key, and now look at that. You can see that that screen turned blue. You can split this screen into 4 different breakpoints. Okay, so I can have left to right, top to bottom, or I can have 3 where there's 2 on the left, 2 on 1 on the right, and so forth and so on. But you've got 4 different options. And see here, every time I move it, a blue box highlights. Now that's the entire bottom of the screen. So if I drag it further, it's hard to see on the screen, but now only the areas where the tabs are actually highlighted. So now when I release my mouse click, it puts my tab back in place. Okay, so that is a really good tip. I don't think I've ever shown that on screen because I don't use it a ton. But now let's build our circle for our trivet. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out here so we can draw our circle. So we've done this many, many times. We're going to choose our artwork tool. We're going to choose our ellipse tool, and you're going to click and drag a circle. Now with your ellipse tool, if you click and drag, it'll make an oval. I'm going to do undo. If you hold down your control key and click and drag, it'll make a perfect circle. Okay, so control, click, and drag makes a perfect circle. But if you do the oval, you can always set it in your properties. Okay, so now I'm going to right mouse click on my ruler bar and say center of origin, and it'll put my circle in the center. Now for the trivet, man, that was actually almost exact. So the finished file that Eileen created was 6.75. To me, that's a great size trivet, but it also will fit, in your 8x8 hoop with the seam the seam around the edge and all of that jazz. So 6.75 was what I created my circle. Okay, so now let's just go from the easiest part of this. So for an in the hoop this trivet for creating it in the hoop, you're going to need essentially an applique. So I'm going to convert this to an applique. Now in my Perfect Embroidery Pro, my options are down here in the effects panel, and I can just click one time on applique. And if you are in another program, your applique option is on your toolbar if that's a feature that's built into your program. Okay. So now instead of the satin stitch, I'm going to switch it to a bean stitch. That's what was used in the final project. And when I click apply, now it's going to do that bean stitch around the edge. So let's watch that stitch out. So with this applique, we're going to get a, well, this is stitching out of order. We're going to move that. Let me get all the way down to the end here. So we get a placement stitch to put down our piece of fabric, and then a tack down to hold it in place. And then the last stitch is going to be the finishing stitch that goes all the way around and puts our fabric to. So right here, we've got placement and tack down. Okay, so let's take a look at our applique properties again. So over here, I've got it set to the finishing stitch is a bean, and I've got my placement stitch. But with a bean stitch, we usually don't do a tack down because of the raw edge. But in this case, I'm actually going to turn my tack down on for a run, because then it will give me that extra run stitch I need. So let's watch that stitch out one more time. I'm going to scroll all the way to the end. So I got my placement stitch, my tack down for my fabric, and then there's another stitch that runs around. That's going to be my bean stitch. That's what's going to put my layers together. Okay. So that bean stitch, though, we want it to stitch after all of our other stitching. Okay. So I'm going to take my applique, and the way that you can do that when you have an applique object is to right mouse click and say break up path. That allows me to stitch my run stitch placement and tack down, but it allows me to put something else that's going to stitch before the final stitch. When it's all together as one object, I can't put my stitch order where I needed it in this case. So I'm going to just click, hold, and drag my actual design. And then I've got it in the order that I need. So let me drag that again and drop it. So I drug too far. So when you're reordering things, you can either use the send to back, you can use the send to front. You can also right mouse click, and under order, you can say move forward or move backward. And you can see when I do that, it moves one space forward or one space back. So right mouse click, order, and for this one I'm going to say move backward, and it'll move it one object back, and in this case, once it's so grouped, since it's all one color, it moves it to the beginning. So, and now I'm going to click, hold, and drag it after that run stitch. Okay, so now if we watch this stitch out again, then each time you'll know that you've got it in the right order. So now we're going to get a placement stitch and a tack down for our base fabric. Then it's going to stitch the design itself. And then the last thing it's going to stitch is a bean stitch that's going to allow us to put the layers together. Okay, so that is in the right order. Now what we want to do is we want to create the design that's fills up the rest of this circle, and we're going to be using elements right from this design to do that. So okay, but before we get to that part, let's see if we have any comments or questions we want to address before we go on to that part. So I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. If you are new here and you've got a question, if you start your question with several question marks, it just allows me to pick it out of all of the different comments that are passing by. So so we'll just go back here, and Dalu says she has a question. So you haven't shown the can you please show that you haven't shown that? Can you please show it again? Yes, absolutely. So Dalu, I'm assuming you're talking about the split screen. And so you're going to click, hold, and drag basically the tab, and then you can move it around. But I'll do that again when I go back over there. Great question. And like I said, it's something that I use, you know, not a ton, but every now and then it's super helpful to be able to do that. So, and then how do you get rid of the split screen? Linda Johnson says, Linda, I know I get that question for people that accidentally do it, but to get rid of it, you can either close out the single tab if it is saved, make sure if it's not saved, make sure you save it, or you click and drag the tab and put it right back in the row of your other tabs. And I'll show that again whenever I go over to answer Linda and Dalu as well. So, and then Joanne says, can you copy and paste from one screen to the other if you wish? Yes, you can. That's a great question, Joanne. And I tell you, I'm the queen of copy and paste. So I do lots of that. So yeah, I was just looking through here, see if we have other questions. So Deborah Herbert says, my print preview states app not supported. I've used it before. Any suggestions? Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, Deborah. So, whenever I go over there, I had to think on that one just a smidge. And so I will try to remember and go over there. If I forget, ask the question again. It won't hurt my feelings, but I'm going to try to remember all these things when I head back over there to show you. So, and then Elizabeth K says, will the threads melt if a hot pad is put on the trivet? So, no, your polyester threads actually can stand up to high heat. And so I have trivets that are embroidered, and I've put hot pans on them, and I've never had an issue with my thread melting. And so I can't speak honestly, Elizabeth, about the exact temperature, but I do have trivets at home with my with stitches, and I've never had that issue. Also, another point, if you are going to make it a hot pad, so the trivet to me is just like you might set it around for something decorative, but a hot pad, you're not only going to want to make sure that your stitches will stand up to that, but also that you have some sort of insulated batting in there. And I think the instructions are also in there, but we're referring to this as a trivet, where it would just sit under something decorative, and maybe it's not, if you do sit some sort of dish on it, it's something that's not hot off of the stove. So, but certainly I make hot pads all the time with my embroidery machine. So, but yeah, just do some testing. So I think that's the best thing to do. So, okay. So I was just looking down here to see if there were some others before we go back over there. I think we're good. If I miss any, make sure that you just ask again. Honestly, it doesn't hurt my feelings. So, can you resize the projects if you don't have a large enough hoop? Absolutely. So especially our on the house designs, we give to you in a format that is our native for our software, which means that it really makes it a better format for resizing. You can resize any file format, but the native format is going to be the best option. So absolutely, you can resize it, and you can do that in any of our dime software as well. And so look at Dawn. I tell you what, she answered a question a couple of weeks ago. That was a technical question. So thank you, Dawn. So she said polyester thread typically melts at a range of 482 to 509. So that is pretty hot for sure. Thank you for that. But if you are using it, make sure you're using like the heat resistant batting, like the Insul Bright, things like that. So, and then Harriet Ann said, is the design too dense for a rope bowl? Or rope trivet. I don't think so. There are some fill stitches in there, but I do fill stitches on rope coasters and things like that, and haven't had any issues. But when I go back over, we can talk about how to remove those too. Okay, I'm getting too many questions that I have to remember to answer over there, so let's go over there before I forget them all. Okay, so first and foremost, if you want to change the stitch type, especially if you have a C2S file, if I ungroup this, then I can actually select like these fill stitches here, and I could change those, change the density even if I wanted. So I can reduce that to lighten up the density here, or maybe you just want to remove them. You could also delete them to lighten it up. But, to me, fill stitches, they stitch really good on a rope bowl. I haven't had any issue with that. But certainly you can adjust that if you want. Anything in your dime software, you can customize to what you want. Okay. And if you want something, say, that is a fill stitch, or that's not, a full regular fill stitch, I can maybe convert that to a motif fill, so that it is a decorative stitch. And I'm going to put that a lot smaller so that it fills in so you can see what I mean. So now I've got this little decorative stitch here that's a fill. rather than just having regular tatami fill stitches, which is what we normally see with our fill stitches. So you can change your stitch types when you're working with the native file like this really, really easily. So, or like I said, even remove them if you want. So great question. Okay, so now let me see if I can remember to answer the other questions. Okay, the print preview. So when you click to print, it comes up in this window here, and it shows you the item that it's going to print. Under the settings, you have the ability to change some things. I always make things actual size when I'm printing a template for embroidery, and I like my crosshair so that I can see exactly where it's going to the center of my design will be. But now I think what the reference was, whenever you click the print icon here, and it comes up right here and it says that this app doesn't support the print preview, it's still going to print this. This is just your Windows pop-up box that might show like a PDF document or something like that, but the embroidery is not visible, but you were able to see it here in the print preview. So here we can see it. When we click print, don't worry about this over here. Make sure that your printer is selected and everything's chosen that you need to. And when you click print, it will look just like this that comes out of your printer. Okay, so just ignore that part about the app not it's supported. That is just from the Windows perspective, but I promise it'll still print as it should. Okay, now a recap. So Elizabeth, I think, and Dalu for moving around these screens. Let's do this really quickly, and we're going to create the rest of our coaster. Okay, so to do the split screen or to undo it. Okay, so first let's make it happen. So if you click, hold, and drag, click, hold, and drag, and that's your regular left mouse click, hold, and drag. When you move your tab, you can see the half of my screen there is highlighted. When I release my mouse click, that's where it's going to put that screen. Okay. And so if I go up, you can see that it'll even split the top. So I'm going to split it this way this time. When I release it, it's split top to bottom. Okay. Now to undo that, click, hold, and drag and put the tab back down here. So click, hold, and drag, and you can see it's highlighting because it's trying to split in another area. But then I'm going to drag it all the way down until the highlighted part is across the bottom, just in my tabs. Now I release, and it puts it back. Okay, click, hold, and drag the tab is what we're doing. Okay, so now let's create the rest of our coaster here, because this is another really cool thing that you can do. Now I'm going to select just my run stitch. Oh, you know what? I just noticed something I didn't do. Run stitch placement and run stitch tack down. I need to make sure those are two different colors or my machine's not going to stop. So I'm glad I saw that before I went to stitch. Okay, so now I'm going to take this first run stitch and I'm going to copy it and paste it. And I'm going to convert that to, well, I could leave it run stitch. It really doesn't matter, but I like to work starting with artwork. And then once I have it set, I then convert it to stitches. So I can do a right mouse click and convert that back to artwork, just that run stitch file. And if I move it out of the way, you can see that's what I just created. Okay. And then I'm going to undo to put it back in the line up here. And what I'm trying to do is I'm going to create that the quilting that's at the top here. If we go back over here to our coaster, do you see this partial circle? That's what I'm about to create here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my design, and then for this particular artwork circle, I am going to reduce its size down to 95%. And watch what this does. I like to do this resizing like this sometimes, because then I don't have to click and drag and center. And I click apply, and you can see that it has my circle inset. And so that's 95% of the original size. Okay. And if you chose a distance and it didn't work, just do your undo and then put in another measurement to get, what you want until you kind of learn. Okay. So now to edit this, to make that half circle, here's what I did. Choose your shape tool, and I'm going to add a point right here at the corner of each of these boxes. Okay. So right mouse click on the circle with the shape tool, add point, and I'm going to go over here and do the same thing, right mouse click, add point, okay? And then I'm gonna get rid of these 3 points down here. I just click and drag. Now my software is not selecting anything except for those points because I have my shape tool selected. And then I just press the delete on my keyboard. And then now I'm down to this. Now, these points here, I want this to be a straight line across the bottom. And so I'm going to right mouse click, choose cusp. Cusp means that I can edit these handles individually from one another. So let me zoom in so you can see what I mean. Okay. So let me go back to my shape tool, right mouse click, and you choose cusp. Okay. I already did that. And that allows me to edit this handle for my Bezier handles separate from this one here. Okay. And so let me zoom out just a smidge so that I can make this straight. And then I'm going to go over here, right mouse click, cusp, so that I can edit this one. And then I can drag it and make a straight line. So now use your, you can use your grid to make sure that you're straight. That's one way to make sure. I usually turn it off when I'm on screen because I think that all the lines everywhere is distracting to all of you guys viewing. But at home when I'm working, I do use my grid a lot to make sure I've got things lined up. Okay. So now let's zoom back out, and I'm going to choose my regular select tool. And there's my shape that I created. Okay. And now maybe you want it to be a little bit further down to fill up that area. But that's a really easy way to create that shape. Now, let me show you for these others, I just copied and pasted. I told you I'm the queen of copy paste. So copy, paste, and then I'm going to mirror image. And then I can actually move this one right down here. I'm going to group this back together here now that we're done messing with it so that I can line everything up. So now when I select this, this, and this together with my control key, I can use my alignment tools to make sure that everything's lined. I can also use the distribute and it'll make sure that everything is evenly spaced for me. Okay, now for the left and the right, I select both of these, copy both of them, paste, and then I can just use my rotate tool, and then I don't have to do any aligning. That's perfectly aligned on the left and the right. Okay, pretty easy, right? Okay, so now those artwork shapes are right here. So they're just artwork. I need to convert them to stitches. So I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to go to my effects panel, and then I'm going to click to convert that to a run stitch. Now your convert to run stitch may be on your toolbar. So check your toolbar for convert to run, or either look under convert to run under your right mouse click, depending on which program you're using. Okay, so now let's create the little flowers here. Now you probably already know those are this little dot with these little leaves here. Okay, so really easy to create and put right up there. So let's ungroup this center design again so we can get to those pieces. Now here's a trick. This is all intermingled in this design, and I just want to select these 5 little elements here. So if I click on one of them, it selects it over here in my sequence view, so then I can tell which one that is, okay? And so that, and then as I click down, I can tell that each of those are the ones after it because it's highlighting it on the screen. So those are the ones I want to copy. So I copy, paste, and then I can move that out of the way. And I'm going to rotate that back so that it's straight. And let's group that together so we don't lose it, because this is a little bit bigger than this one. Now let's borrow one of these little dots here. So I click on it, I copy it, I paste it, and then I'm going to move that over just like that. And if I select both of these, I can again use my alignment tool because we grouped those together to make sure it's centered. Okay, so now that's all centered. I'm going to group that together so that I can use my repeat tool. And then I'm just going to repeat 3 of them just like that. Click apply and okay. And look at that. Is that easy or what? Now, if I group all 3 of those together, Control G on your keyboard or group on your icons, I'm going to do the same thing. Copy, paste, mirror image, move this down. And now select both of those, copy, paste again, and then rotate. And then I don't have to align that. Rotate twice, and then it puts it over in the side. So that's pretty cool, right? Okay, so now I want to make sure this is the right order. And I know it's not because I've copied, pasted, and cut and done all kinds of things over here. So if I go over here to my sequence view, right mouse click on all items, I'm going to say collapse all. Okay, and let's watch this stitch out. Now I know I need to move things, but I just want to show you the slow redraw. Okay, so we're going to get placement, stitch, and then it's going to start doing the quilting, then the tack down and all that stuff in the center. And then you've got all of these parts that we can do color sort on if we want, or I think Eileen even changed the color on them. Okay, so now over here in our sequence view, the run stitches for the quilting, I'm going to move those, click, hold, and drag, and I'm just going to move that to stitch after that center design there. Okay, and those need to be a different color. It actually lumped it in with my last stitch, which was my placement or my final tack down. So I'm going to add a new color. I just clicked add, and then I'm going to right mouse click on that, and it'll make my last stitch a completely different color. Okay, so then if I choose that and say send to the front, then it's going to move it to the very end for me. Okay, and then all of my stitches here. So now let's see what we got here before we move anything else. So slow redraw and a placement tack down. It looks like it's stitching all of the design. Got lots of color changes. We're still going to do that, and then that final stitch. Okay, so our order is correct. Okay, now if you want these to be different colors, I'm going to ungroup this, and let's do that. So I'm going to ungroup the blue stitches here. I'm going to select all of those and then add another color and make those green. I think that's what was on the original one. Okay, and let's do the same thing. Now, if I had changed those colors before I copied and pasted these, all of these would be the same color. Okay, so then I can select, I'm going to do a right mouse click on the green, but hey, this is life and this is what happens sometimes. So sometimes I forget to do the steps before that would make my life easier. So select them, change it to green, and then we're going to color sort all of those. So ungroup. Now we've got some of the same colors duplicated here. So if I just select the entire design and color sort it, then it will most likely some of our placement stitches and tack down stitches will also get in that mix. So there is an option that we have in a few of our software where I can just select a certain part of my design. And I'm just holding down my shift key and I'm selecting a bunch of the elements, and it's selected all of those. And so then if I click the color sort, it will group together all of the green and the yellow elements for me of that design. So let's watch it stitch out and see if that did the trick or if we need to move anything else. So all of our design stitching out, the light blue, the dark blue, the yellow, and then all of the green. So I think that looks great. Okay, so the color sort allows you to select certain objects in color sort, whereas the resequence by color just does everything in the design. So, but what do you guys think? So isn't that cool? So you can repurpose designs that you maybe already have. Okay, so let's see if we've got any questions before we do anything else. So let's see what we got. Millie says you could insert a tile into the back. Absolutely. Yes. And so it's limitless. You could do whatever it is that you want. It's your design. Your ideas can come to life. So are you able to do all of this in if you only have a Tool Shed Plus? Actually, you know what? Embroidery Tool Shed Plus will do all of the editing. You can copy and paste and use the different elements, and you can ungroup. The thing that you cannot do in the Embroidery Tool Shed Plus is you cannot create the artwork and turn that into stitches. So you can't do that part, but you could find another design that had, say, a run stitch circle and copy, paste, and resize that to what you needed in Embroidery Tool Shed Plus. So there sometimes is a way around it, but all of the ungrouping, the copying, pasting, editing, seeing the split screen is also in Embroidery Toolshed Plus. So a good majority of it is definitely in Embroidery Toolshed Plus. So that's a really good question, Donna. Thank you. And then Etta says, if the final applique stitch is a satin stitch, how do you add another stitch under the bean stitch or the satin stitch? So I see that a lot. And you want to try that look. Yeah, absolutely. So I think what she's saying is you have your regular beautiful satin stitch and then you want like a decorative stitch on top of that. So what I would do with that, Etta, is I would create my applique as usual, and then I would just make an additional run stitch and make sure it was centered over top of it, the same size as the applique. And then you could convert that stitch to either a decorative stitch or run stitch to stitch over top of the applique. So another really great question. So I'll have to incorporate that into a lesson. So, and then Beth said that's a cool feature. The split, I haven't seen the split screen before. So I'm glad I could show you guys something that I have not shown you, or that you guys haven't seen, or you haven't accidentally come across. And so Beth said, is the color sequencing icon new? I don't remember seeing it before. So the color sort is on the toolbar, Bet, because I have my embroidery tool shed as the default. If you have PEP as the default, it's not on that toolbar. It's actually from one of the other programs. So, and color sort is very similar to your resequence by color, only color sort, you can actually just select a portion of the design to sort the colors. So, and then Etta says she'll try that. So awesome. That's great. So, and a last question there, Christy says, could you also put a motif stitch on the satin stitch? Yes, absolutely, Christy. That same run stitch that you do, since we have that question twice and we've got a little bit of time, let me just go over here and do it. So let's head back over into the software and I'll just do that for you. So then that way, if you're watching, maybe this will help you understand kind of what we're doing here. So I'm going to go and start just a new workspace, and then let's just draw this artwork circle. So the Embroidery Toolshed Plus does not have this artwork drawing tool. That's what I was referring to. And it's not able to convert something to a particular type of design. So I'm going to do an applique. But again, you could have copied, pasted, things like that. Okay, so here's my applique with the satin stitch. If I just copied and pasted this, and instead of made it an applique, I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to convert that to just a run stitch. And I'm going to change the color so we can see it. So now I have an applique that's going to give me a placement stitch and a tack down stitch, and then it's going to do the satin stitch around the edge, and then my separate stitch there is the run stitch decorative stitch on the top that you could do. So I've seen the run stitch a lot, so that's definitely something you can do. You can also change the stitch length over here, so maybe if you wanted a little bit shorter of a stitch length, you can change that as well. But a run stitch can be changed to a decorative stitch, which we call a motif stitch. So if I select that option, a motif stitch is kind of like your decorative sewing machine stitches. So if I choose this one's probably a really good option, and I click apply, now I've got this decorative stitch on top of my satin stitch. Now I know somebody's saying, why in the world would you want to do that? But it's because it's too large. So let me reduce the size. I'm going to go down to say 3 millimeter here. And now you've got that decorative stitch on top of your satin stitch. And that decorative stitch can be any of these like 200 plus decorative type stitches. So the chain stitch, bean stitch, or all of these other decorative. Let's see what this one looks like. So this is what it's still a little bit big. Let's go down again, smaller. And ooh, that kind of looks cool, right? And so this is a run stitch on top of a satin stitch. So basically your run stitches are just, going to be stitched right on top of that. So, but that's kind of a cool look for their, for that particular one. So hopefully that helps you guys that were asking about that satin stitch on, or the motif stitch on top of it. So you could do run or motif. So, and then Dalu says, how Would you bean stitch look like instead of a run stitch? Yeah, you could definitely do the bean stitch. I think the bean stitch would show up on the stitches bolder. So if you use a contrasting thread color, Dalu, you can really see that run stitch on top of the satin stitch. But if you're using the same color thread, your run stitch is not as noticeable. But if you put it as a bean stitch with the same color, you probably would notice that a little bit more. So I think it would look fantastic. It would just be a bolder type of stitch for sure. So that's a good question. And then Gail, hey Gail, she says, do you need to change the density of the satin stitch? So I have not. So if you are stitching something on top of a satin stitch, a lot of times the stitches just go right in between your stitches. If you change the density and make it looser, then you're probably going to see some little areas that is not, good coverage. So if your stitch that's on top has a busy design to it, then maybe you'd want to do that. But with the run stitch or a motif stitch that's really open, then I definitely wouldn't change the density. You won't have any problems whatsoever stitching that out. It stitches really cleanly. So give it a try. If you haven't tried it yet, give it a try. It's really a fun look, and it's a great use of your software too. So, and then Catherine says, how do you center the advanced stippling or the stitch pattern? So to center that, click on your shape tool, and then you can move the start stop point of those quilting patterns. And Catherine's referring to quilting fills that we actually talked about. I want to say it was last time or maybe even the time before, but quilting fills, if you choose your shape tool, you can move start stop points, and then certain ones you can move the center of like the contour and the shapes and things. So try that, Catherine. So try clicking your shape tool and moving those things around. So okay, guys, so that is the last thing I have for today. I think that was a really great use of our software. I don't know about you, but this is actually what I do a ton with my programs, is edit things that I already have. I don't always digitize, but I love to use what I already have and create something new out of it. So, okay, so now that we have seen all of that, I think I have all of your questions covered. I was going to switch back here to the presentation because I have we saw where to get the design, but now let's talk about the tools that I used today. Now, you guys asked some questions that spawned me to talk about different tools that I did not already have on my list. The split screen option, that is in any of our Dime software. You can move that screen split around. But these are the features that we used to create the trivet design from the coaster design. So to convert to run, that is all of the software there at the top. Almost every one of our components that we can use for creating designs will convert to a run: Pep, My Quilt Embellisher, My Block Piecer, Vintage Embroidery, My Lace Maker, Patch and Applique Maker, Cut and Stitch, and Special FX. And all of those exact same programs have the artwork tool, except for with the addition of word art and stitches, it looks like. So, and then I actually missed My Block Piecer. My Block Piecer does have the artwork tool in it as well, and I missed it in that list. And so applique, I converted my run stitch to an applique. So the convert to applique option, it is part of PEP, My Quilt Embellisher, Patch and Applique Maker, Cut and Stitch, Special FX, and then in the hoop, which you guys are going to hear more about in just a couple of weeks, and then we'll start teaching lessons on that as well. The shape tool, that's the one that we were able to edit those points, and it's also the tool that Catherine would use to change the positioning of her quilt fill. That's in PEP, My Quilt Embellisher, My Block Piecer, Cut and Stitch, and Special FX. And then the repeat tool that I use to make the 3 in a row is part of PEP, My Lace Maker, Cut and Stitch, and Special FX. And then the quilt fill that we filled the inner part of our design to lighten it up, and that's also what Catherine was asking about. That's in PEP and My Quilt Embellisher for the quilt fills. And then we do have some little quilt fill options other places, but mainly Pep and My Quilt Embellisher. Now, I know that that's a lot and you may need to really focus on that more, but you can rewatch this. You can take a screenshot here if you need a reminder of which tools are where. If you do not have the program that I use today, let me just show you this really quickly. In the shopping cart tab in the bottom, you can try any of these software that you do not have a check mark next to. Check mark means you own it. If you click the ellipsis options, you can choose try, which means that you could try everything that I showed you today using the different features in these different programs on any of the ones you don't own. And if you like it and you know you want it, then you certainly can then add that software to your collection, right? So you can try it right here for free. It's a demo version. You just will not be able to save the design once you're done designing. So just remember that. Save everything prior and then play around with the other features because you won't be able to save it. And then when you close your software and open it back up, it'll be right back to the programs that you own. But it's a great way to figure out what what the features do. So play around with them. Okay, so in 2 weeks, you're going to see me actually twice that week. So you'll see me for Software Success on April the 15th. And we are going to talk about patches. So you guys know we have Patch and Applique Maker, but I also like to show you ways to create patches in the other programs as well. So whichever one you own, maybe you'll be able to create this patch. So join me for creating patch. We can make mom a patch with a flower on it so it'll never die. So for Mother's Day, you can have something that she maybe could keep forever. Okay, so we'll talk about patches made easy. So you'll see me on the 15th. And then I will be on Between Friends on Thursday the 17th. So make sure you check out and join me then as well. So I see a couple of other questions that have popped up. So let's answer them really quickly before we go, because I think this chat goes away later. And then Carolyn Morrow says, is this chart available anywhere? Yes, it's actually a great question. So if you go to our website, let me go to this. This is something else I haven't shown before. So look right here, everyone. So if you go to our dzgns.com, our designs in machine embroidery dime by OESD website, click on software and then click it again. This is so that you can choose the different pieces. But if you click it again, it will actually come to our page that has all of our software. And we actually have this option, add to compare now. If you click, it'll pop up this on the bottom, and it's adding each of those software to a compare tool. So you can click on 2 or 3 or however many you want, click compare, and then it will bring up this chart, and then you'll be able to see each of these features in each of the software programs. Okay, so if you can't remember, that's a great way to go. And you don't even have to select 2. You can actually just select one program and it'll show you the items in that page. So go to dzgns.com, click on software again. It'll bring up all of them. And then add the check mark next to each of the ones that you want to work with. And even if it's just one, when you click compare, it'll give you all of the features that are in that program. Now that's pretty cool, right? So that's something else new today that I haven't shown you guys. So there you go. And you can always go back and watch this presentation. It will live on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page permanently. You can go back, rewind, take a screenshot of where I had all of those features listed out. So, okay. So, and I see that there's a couple of other questions. So let's just see. I hate to leave them because I can't get back to the chat always easily. So what program was the color sort icon that you use? So color sort, Bet. That's a great question. I don't know that one off the top of my head. So I will have to look that up and then let you know. And so Bet, I know how to get in touch with you. So I'll let you know on that, or you can always go over there and compare as well. But color sort was added with the addition of, I don't even want to say Bet because it might be wrong. So I'll make sure to get you that answer. And then Gail says, on the original block, where is the opening? So there was no opening, Gail. because we did an envelope back where we took 2 pieces of fabric, folded in half, and just overlapped them and then stitched all the way around. And then you just turn through the envelope opening. So then you don't have to leave an opening in your stitches. So that's maybe a new thing. So the instructions for that show you exactly how you can do it. If you download that trivet, that's also part of the instructions. So, and then Millie says, can the hand be changed to anything else? Sorry, but it's a little creepy. The hand. The I don't know the hand. So whenever I'm selecting something, I don't know. I don't remember if that where the hand was, but I'm sure I'll figure it out, and I'll try to change it for you, Millie, if I figure out which hand you're referring to. And so, but okay, I think I've got all of the questions covered there. So, hey, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Don't forget, if you don't have one of these programs, try it in the shopping cart. You can play around with it, all the features. Also, if you don't, check with your favorite dealer that you like to frequent their in-store brick and mortar location and purchase the software for them if they carry our Dime products, or ask them about our Dime by OESD products and our software. But support your favorite brick and mortar dealer. I always love to see that. And then you can still come see me here and join us on our Facebook group and our YouTube channel for all of the same education. So, and if, of course, you don't have a dealer near, you certainly can go to the page. But please, please, please take care of your favorite local or brick and mortar dealer. So I always love to say that. Okay, so until our next software success, guys, I am going to say thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. Have a good one.